A very warm welcome to our wonderful show. Today is a day not like any other, and we are going to be talking cricket, but this time around it's going to be twisted a bit. My name's Mugalu Jeremiah, and what we would like to dive in today is I would call it a conversation all about cricket, not about cricket, but yeah, close to cricket is what I would put it like. And with me is a gentleman who has traveled the world. If I say traveled, you will get to know what I'm talking about when he gets to speak to you. But he's a former cricket player. He will also tell us how far he has gone into the sport of cricket. I'm talking about the playing bit. But let me give you the gentleman. Let him talk for himself. Yes, gentleman. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, how are you? The privilege is mine to be on this show. I've been listening and hearing about something called The Site, and finally I get to sit in the hot seat, and I'm happy to share a conversation with you. Hopefully, we'll be laughing at the end of it all.
I will be laughing. That's one thing I can assure you about. Who is Innocent Ndawula?
Innocent Ndawula is a very passionate Ugandan. He wears a big letter S on his chest, and his blood is full of S. S, of course, standing for sports, because I believe I am a real child of the system when it comes to sport. I can tell you, I grew up around here, Lugogo, Naguru, and right, you see where behind the hockey court is. The houses that belong to. There were houses that belong to a family here in cricket. We call the Mukasa family. That Mukasa family has Roger Mukasa, Lawrence Samatimba, and Frank Subuga. I stayed at their home for some time in my holidays when I was from Makerere College. My brother, who I used to stay with, just stays a stone's throw away from here in Bukoto White Flats. So many times I used to get an excuse to stay longer in Lugogo. And all the good and the bad things I learned them around here. So I've been modeled by Lugogo. I watched my first movie in Naguru there in Kasenke. So I can call myself a Lugogo boy if it allows, although some people will see me wearing a shirt and tucking in and they will say, no, he's not a Lugogo boy. But I'm a Lugogo boy who wears a capital S on my chest, who has gone through the ranks, who has made sure the ecosystem of sports in Uganda does make sure I have a living at the end of the day. I've been able to graduate not only in academics but also in sports. I am a graduate of Advanced Sports Management from Uganda Olympic Committee. I am a qualified journalist. I have played many sports for the country and for the clubs. For the country, I'm lucky to have played for Uganda in cricket at the under-19 level. I didn't go to the senior team. Competition was not only stiff, but my father also wanted his degree, which I was happy to give to him at the end of the day. And I have also played table tennis for Uganda at the underage levels, under 15, under 17, when we still had solid coaches. I know some of them are engaged here and there, and they're coming back into the sport. The likes of Mary Mosoke, the legend, the Olympian, and Master Batambuze there. People like Jude Muteta, the guys who used to give us a rerun for their monies back in the day. But I've also played, I had a hand in hockey, boxing, I threw one punch, I ran away. Badminton, I have played to an acceptable level. Not as good as Davis Karashan has played though. So everything in Lugogo I have touched. Lawn tennis, I can swing a racket. Golf, nowadays I moved even closer to the golfing world. I play golf. And in terms of profession, I think my bread is buttered at Nation Media Group Uganda, where I am the assistant head of sports, I think, Nation Media Uganda, and Mr. Ishmael Dakawa Chigongo, although I concentrate a lot on the paper. And also, what else can I add? I could say a lot and go on, but without sounding very redundant, I can say I am a guy who's very passionate. I am a guy who loves sports, and I've also volunteered a lot for many federations, including cricket, because cricket gave me school fees, it gave me a life. I've volunteered to help them start things like media arm, human resource, from cricket to golf, where I've worked as a media manager as well in golf, to rugby in earlier years when you used to have the things like Rugby and Elgon Cup. And I can proudly say I think I am one of the guys who started this thing of media liaisons for teams to make sure that if a journalist travels the team, they not only give back to his or her media outlet, be useful to the other world, make sure they know the sport, because the sports apparently that I chose that are around Rugogo, and not that I can't play football, but I believe my border guy knows more football than me. I can analyze the game better, and because the footballing world is too congested, everyone knows and can say something. But if you pick a sport like hockey, a sport like cricket, a sport like swimming, a sport like golf, a sport like rugby, you're going to become a superpower, and you're going to be untouchable. And that's why I think I chose my niche to become a guy who works on the lesser sports like badminton and get my name elevate quickly. And yet when I come on TV, I can speak football as good as anybody else. So, but I say to be a power elsewhere, because that elevates you much quicker. So I believe Innocent Ndawula is that type of guy you want around you when you want to talk sports, because he will talk even the smaller sports and show you how relevant and important they are in Uganda, and how much success they have brought to Uganda than the bigger sports you look at today.
You know that you've spoken. I've well heard that everything that concerns sport, most especially cricket, is what has made you more relevant than all the other sports. Take me through. How was your playing career like?
My playing career, I would like to make a comeback first and foremost. I still feel there's some little more fight in me. There is some fight in my stomach to come out there and throw a few punches, not in the boxing ring, but on the cricket field in particular, and maybe play veterans tennis here and there. I call myself youth, because if one of the sons of the big man of the #1 citizens at 50 calls himself a youth, I think I'm also still youthful in my early 40s. So my playing career, cricket, played for land cricket taught by Mr. Sam Walusimbi while I was still in Kasasa. When I moved to Makerere College, Mr. Walusimbi was one of the reasons I didn't get the marks from my senior four, from ordinary level, to go to Makerere College. But because I had a cricketing background, and there was a guy here called John Lubia, he was a former captain for Uganda. He gave me options. Do you want to go to Namiryango, Makerere College, or Muiri, Busoga College Muiri? I had been to Muiri many times during the holidays with the current development manager of Uganda. During the holidays, I used to run away from my mother's home in Nankula Bakuli and go to their home. And once I showed him to my mother and saw he was a respectable man and they could shortwave a bit in another language from the western Uganda, she thought I was in good hands. So I went to Muiri a couple of times and I saw Muiri, too boyish, too rough. Namiryango, boys' school. Kasasa, I had been in a boys' school. So the option fell to Makerere College for my picking. And I was very welcomed there by a gentleman called Mr. Waswa. I played alongside a son of the late Abraham Kitumba Lutaya Mulangira, AKPM, the former General Secretary of National Sports, was also a former chairman for Ugandan cricket. And I played alongside a guy called Marco Lutaya, who was captain then but was in day school. So when I came, he handed over the captaincy reins to me. I was not well grilled, but because I was more in Lugogo, and my hanging out crew was Franco Nsubuga, Lawrence Matimba, who is my age mate. There's a guy right there, it's called Rasta, Henry Kato. He's right there at the container now as we do this interview. The guys I grew up around with, and they were teaching me. I was learning things quickly because I was here anyways. So I went on to play for Makerere College very diligently. I remember in our time, Makerere College have won the cricket week once. Back in the earlier years when I think it was still a four-school affair with the entire Muiri and Budo. Now, in our time, we pushed and pushed to the level of reaching a semi-final. And then we started attracting Makerere College to give out scholarships to sports, thanks to a guy called Mr. Ndawula Anthony, who is a very famous volleyball coach. He was a literature teacher who took over cricketing reins from another gentleman called Mr. Waswa Abraham Bate. He had a very deep voice and a love for cricket. So he brought in that era of giving out scholarships to cricket. So it was a good era. People like Daniel Riange, Serunkuma Joffre, Freddie Savidie, Charles Waiswa came through Makerere College later on because of what happened in our time when we pushed the game. And the school realized that from an era of Chris Mugisha, who has worked a lot with Athletics Federation, that because we had the likes of Baiga. Actually, Baiga was my OG. We were around the same time in school. That cricket can also bring athletes that can give the school some good recognition. So we brought that culture into Makerere College. It was a very beautiful thing. And then we pushed our school to the semi-finals. I remember we lost to Ntare School. And on that day we were playing here in Lugogo. It was almost a full house because Makerere College had pushed to that level. And we lost by 5 runs. That day was hurtful because we had the son of the late AKPM retire, who is now working with ABSA and is a former player, a very good all-rounder for Uganda. He's one of the few guys who have gone to Plus Cricket Academy in South Africa. It's called Guy Chimbo retire. He was coaching us. And the manner in which we lost was a very small score, low chase, and we failed miserably. But that's what we did in for the school as Makerere College. We never won the title for the school. We went on to get a few flowers here and there, getting selected to the Chairman's 11, which was a very big game when they picked you to play Chairman's 11, school select versus Chairman's 11. That was a very big thing, the epitome for you participating in a school cricket week that used to have Lugogo filled to the rafters, very much packed. And we also got chances to get selected to the under-19 level, for under-19 teams. I was chosen on the development side. Also, back then, I didn't go to the national team, like I said. I had to go and get my mother's degree, hook or crook. That was a must. There was no ways about it. At the club level, I am happy to be a champion for the National League title twice in 2006 and 2007 with SEC. I was, I think, one of the most feared spinners. I won the best bowler twice in my career in the league. I was a left-arm orthodox spinner, like Henry Senyondo, if you want to compare and contrast. And my later years, I came back and played after I got the degree. Of course, the game leaves you, but you can catch up. And when I came back to cricket properly after the university, I played with some of the young teams. I played with Charity Cricket Club. I went to Ginger. I captained Ginger Association of Cricket Clubs, Jack, for 2 consecutive years as well. And that was a big privilege because as a Kampala boy, to go and be all embraced in Ginger by Mr. Justin Linjalinji Sr., the father of Justin Linjalinji, who is now the interim ICC Regional Government Manager for Africa. It was a very big privilege because I was given the captaincy reins and I captained Jack for 2 consecutive years. In those years, we won so many things, we won so many games, we beat teams for the first time from Kampala. And we were the talk of town, we were the darling of the cricket fraternity. I played with guys alongside guys like Jacob Mudu in that club, people like Charles Waiso again, Hamza Saleh, who came through the ranks, were all under my stewardship. Emmanuel Isanez, these are guys I captained, and we had very many good times there. Arthur Cho, where I remember we changed a whole revolution, we flipped a whole new page. And when I left Ginger, many clubs were fighting for my signature, so that's how I came to play for ACC from Ginger, and then the journey continued. 2006-2007, I was captained by Junior Kwebi and Lawrence Sematimba in ACC, and we were victorious under the managership of that man who is now the new chairman of UCA, Jackson Kavuma. Yes, Jackson Kavuma. So it's a beautiful storyline for cricket because when we decided how to play, I think I played cricket because I wanted to eat a good meal. We never played for anything like money. Today there's a lot of money in cricket. And we played for a good meal on a Sunday, because when I first came, I was a table tennis player who crossed over from, it used to be called Ramgaria, Katikati there. So crossed over from there. There used to be a big mango tree where there is oryx, and we used to eat food there of as little as 800 shillings. So crossed over here and came to eat a free meal on a Sunday. I was made to score, to pull the scoreboard there, and then I said, I should play this game after all. I think there's a better meal and a better crowd, because there were drinks after the game. You're going back to school if it was in a school term. I was driven chauffeur to school by people like John Lubia, who was working for MTN at that time, and another guy called Aloysius Nainabo, who is now living in Australia, taking me back to school. Everyone at the assembly seeing you on a Monday morning. They're saying yesterday 2 of our students were representing their clubs, and you get those flowers on the assembly. And it was a mixed school, and there was that alwa, and there was some pep in my step, and some swag on, and saying, hey, I'm a big boy now. So it was really nice to play this game of cricket. And as far as the highs, that's how far we've gone. But some of my other highs have come from across the place, covering the Africa Cup of Nations, going to the World Cup for the first time with the Dennis Musalis, 2004 Bangladesh, and then going back to back in 2006. That generation was a golden one in 2006 in Colombo, covering the World Cup, covering the Rugby World Cup in France as a journalist. 2007 when France hosted, it was a big milestone for me. I had never dreamed I'd ever step on a plane.
That is the place where we should be going. But before even we get there, I would like, of course, we get to hear a lot of names in cricket. I think even by the time we are seated here, you've talked about 30 names in cricket plus.
I think I've talked about, I've mixed it up a bit with other names from the different sports. To be fair to the whole sporting world, yeah, many people really touched me because I had also a background in volleyball. I played some good volleyball under Ndawula at Makerere College. People like Huntington, Subuga used to come around and push us on. So it's a mix of both worlds, but cricket still the limelight, which I feel bad about because I don't want cricket to take all the flowers from who I am today. But although they truly deserve, there's no love lost there.
Yeah, for sure. But Magic Left is a name that you get to hear. Where does Magic Left come from? Where do you get this name? Or it's just one thought that you woke up one morning and said, today I'm Magic Left?
Magic Left, there were other names which I can give you a hint. I was called Makerere for a very long time. A person who calls me Makerere is a person who has known me for a very long time because when I first came here I was stubborn and very much smaller, like the current chairman of Uganda Cricket Association, Mr. Jackson Kavuma. I think that's why we became friends in the beginning. But people ask me, what's your name? I refuse to tell them. So, but when they later on went to know that I'm from Makerere College, so they named me Makerere. So then there's another name called Padia. The guys call me Padia. That name was given to me the time I played for KICC, Kampala Institute of Cricket Clubs. I was in Makerere College. And these guys first gave us money. They gave us half school fees, which I never declared at home, I can confess now. I never declared at home. They gave me a half school fees, and I was on a half bursary at school. So this was good money to spend at school, and buy my friends a big safi, not a small safi, because all the times of safi, quencha, instead of eating cassava, they were eating samosas. So Padia was a guy who came as a profession to play for KICC, and he was a left-hander. And me and him had one physical structure that we do look alike with. So I got that name from him. And for me, I kept telling everyone that I think I got that nickname from the way the guy plays his shots. But predominantly, I was a bowler, so there was just a physical structure in our bodies that look alike, which I will not tell you on air. To save the embarrassment.
I was going to ask, was the physical structure a small guy you're talking about, or the gentleman we see at this point of time?
Physical structure has nothing to do with size. Because if I tell you more, I'll be revealing a little too much. But also, Magic Left came about the time when I made a comeback in cricket and the advent of social media. That's when the word Magic Left came about. I was playing in, it was called Charity Trust Fund, that cricket club. That's when I think I said the advent of social media and the Gen Zs of today. Call them maybe the time you live from the millennials to the Gen Zs. Magic Left came up as my social handles then, but because on my jersey I was wearing Magic Left 11. Magic Left because I'm a Obua. Actually, let me take it back. David Obua gave me that name, Magic Left. I used to go and visit David Obua a lot in my leave days when I was still at WBS. And then when I moved to Monitor, I still visit Obua. He used to say me, it's boring here in Naturena. I was staying in Naturena in Glen Vista around there in South Africa. And David used to say, come through, mate. Here's a half a ticket. Come watch the Soweto Derby. Come chill for a month. So I used to go and spend a lot of time at this place. And the only thing I used to put on TV was cricket. That was IPL had just started, Indian Premier League. And I was supporting Kolkata Knight Riders. So he was calling me a Kolkata legend or a Magic Left because me and him found ourselves as left-handers, me and Obua. And we had grown a liking for each other from the time I was staying with my brother at Bukoto White Flats. And he used to come a lot to our home to take water, and I used to go to the home to eat. They used to have a delicacy. They ate a lot with their father at home. So I used to go the same at Kanyucha Street to do the same. And so he became my friend. And then when I became a journalist, I used to have all the exclusive for David. And he felt I was like a brother to him. I would represent him so well in a world where he felt he was underappreciated. So when I tell you about football, I have so many stories I can tell you about football,
Yeah.
because I also have a personal relationship with Sekaja, who has built so many apartments where he stays, and where I am one of the few lucky guys who get to see him every time he comes to visit Uganda. So David named me Magic Left to differentiate himself from me. And then when I came to cricket, I told the guys, don't call me Paddy, don't call me, because there's another thing, they call me Patro. Patro is a nickname I got from a Rwandan family that stayed near my mother's family in Bakul, in Namirembe. Patro, when a Rwanda tells you Patro, means big boy. It says you have liquid, you're my guy, you're like Patro. Patro is supposed to mean someone who is who can make things move, someone who is my guy, who is my go-to, my ride and die. So Patro is like, I think I was a rich man in that case. So in that case, so I had those many other nicknames, which many people still call me when they see me. Like when I'm with Kenneth Kamyuka, whenever we chat in Toronto, in Canada now, he calls me Patro. Because it's our code name. I played a lot with Kenneth Kamyuka. He took me, and I earned my first million because of Kenneth Kamyuka. It took me, I think, to play in Kakira League. There was a Kakira League in Jinja, in Madivan, where the ground was as small as a football ground. And me being a left-hander had an advantage. When you're playing, I could easily score the sixes. And many times I used to make very, very good partnerships with him when we play the senior team, when we were in the under 19. I used to know how to hold the strike for him to shine. I was his second fiddle. So, but Magic Left came at the time when I played with the guys like Cosmas Cheuta, Joseph Oyet, who plays number 15 for the Heathens. People like Henry Senyondo, Simon Sesazi, when Charity Jonathan Sebanja, that crew of Naguru. Yeah, people like Alema Abraham, Henry Muyanja. Even Davis Trinawe was one of the mentor coaches from who took me to Charity actually, because he believed in me, said you could still have something to offer. Come and play with these guys as you mentor them and show them how you've made it in the world, irrespective of being a person who grew up here like them. So Magic Left, that's how Magic Left came about, and Magic Left has stayed until now, and it's even bigger when I go to and do some work for ICC. If they don't call me the Prince of Uganda, they call me Magic Left, and everyone is wondering how Magic Left came about. But in a short, I think that's how the moniker Magic Left came about, and I'm happy to embrace that one because I feel I still have a lot of work to do with my left side of the body.
There are not many days that I would be happy to have a conversation with anyone like today. But at this point of time, I know we have talked about a couple of sports, volleyball. You have talked about a little bit of a punch, boxing, and football at some point. So, which sport interested you as you were growing up? Leave cricket aside. Any other sport that you said, if it wasn't cricket, I would be playing this?
First and foremost, I told you I represented Uganda at the underage stage for table tennis. So I had a liking for table tennis. But you know, when you go to a place, only if you don't leave home, you will never know that someone else can cook better than your mother. When I first came to Lugogo as a teenager here, it was for volleyball championship. To take you much further back, in primary school, I was at Mugwanya Primary School, Kawoja. When we first came here, we came here to play tennis, lawn tennis down at the courts. So I had a liking for swinging games. I think I'm very good with my hands, better than my legs. My football days are there, but they stopped at the Lamine stage in primary school at Kawoja, and we play with the likes of Savio, Ruwaga boys. Yeah, so I have a feeling my eyes opened up and lit up wide. You know, when you are a teenager and you step into a discotheque for the first time, those flashing lights open up your ideas and your minds, and you think, oh, if you are a teenager and you turn 18 and your father gives you a first taste of scotch, and you sip some whiskey, the feeling is different. You say, this is really what you guys have been taking all along. What good is this all about? It's actually very better than I think. So I think my eyes opened up when I came to Lugogo properly in my teenage years. And I knew you could walk from the time you walk up there from where we used to stay. You know, we used to stay in that Lugogo hostel, where now it's a restaurant. I feel bad. But the memories we have in there, and the memories we have crossing over to police, to eat a Rolex, take some fresh juice for 500 shillings from our allowances. You could play as many sports from darts at the police club. You come to the next to the limbo there, you play volleyball. You come inside the hall there was boxing, there was badminton. You could play. You cross over further down here, you could play cricket. Yeah, You could do what's called karate. There used to be a lot of karate lessons around here. You cross over here to Ramgaria, you play table tennis. After lunch, you come and pick some balls for guys in the cricket nets and lawn tennis and get some money, 5,000, and take you back home. So it was a whole big world. Then in between the afternoons, we could cross over there out where I've seen opposite KCCA Stadium, where KCC is, all that land. There used to be like 8 football grounds and you play some football. So at the end of the day, if you're tired, you just cross over to Shell Club and cool off by waiting to see if a rich man from somewhere, a judge, a magistrate, can buy you a chigere, take some soup from the cow hooves. Molokoni, yes, Molokoni is stuff like that. So we're living in our own different world. Every day you wake up with new ambitions. You cross over to Naguru, there is boxing. Yeah, as many gyms as possible. Because nowadays, I think the boys still do now. They call Naguru the Las Vegas of Uganda, the land of opportunity.
Yeah, it's still there. There's a club in Naguru called East Coast. Yeah, East Coast. I think my producer is one that knows it so well.
East Coast, you'll find many of those boys there, the instructors, wearing our latest cricket warm-up jerseys. Where I don't know if I'm allowed to say this on your air. I hope you don't give me an invoice. At the end of the day, where you find people like Laika, people are wearing the Laika, the latest gear for cricket, and you find many of our players now, they're in off-season for a month after a rigorous beginning of the year, and they have to re-energize and reignite for the T20 Championship. They're there working out for Power Strength, Juma Miyaji, Cosmas Cheuta. If you check their socials, they're always in that gym working out. Siraje and Subuga, they're always in that gym. So cricket and boxing, not very different backgrounds, but cricket has proved that they can match boxing pound for pound in giving them opportunities.
You've mentioned Siraje and Subuga, one of the gentlemen that I think are flying Uganda's flag high in Kenya. But at this point of time, yeah, I think we shall have some time. My producer will schedule some time with Siraji. He's a gentleman who has an interesting conversation at the end of the day. But still on this, let us talk about the part of journalism. How did you get into journalism in the first place?
Again, I think I was born with a golden tooth. I was born on, did say on or with a silver platter. I went to school, the most unlikely of schools for the background I had, from Kahoja, where I know my father didn't actually pay school fees, but did out of barter trade for us to go to school, and we are lucky we had one of the brothers of Christian instruction is a brother to my father. So in Uganda said Naina Kabega Kanji. I was lucky from when I was a child. I think that's why I call it even magic left. And for a person like me who was born on a Friday is a day of luck as well. I was in Nigeria and I was told if you're born on Friday, it's a day of luck, and you're even given a certain different name from the others to identify that you were born on that particular day. So, journalism, this is the story. It all started by me being a stringer. Stringer means I used to come and watch cricket, and the late James Mayanja is the man who brought me into journalism. How he brought me is I was best friends with Wavamono's son. He's called Semada Marvin Wavamono. He was a cricketer from Soka College Mwiri who came to Makerere College for high school, for A-level. And A-level, we were playing on the same team. I was his captain. He's a guy I used to go to and say, today I would like to take needle as well. Give me some powdered milk to add in my porridge. He's a guy who liked me from the beginning because we were from different backgrounds. We didn't have too much at home, and he had too much and was willing to share. And we were playing the same sport, and he felt his story would relate with mine. Yet he's actually, we used to call him Mzungu, who was like a half caste of sorts. So, but cricket brought us together. Yeah, the gentleman's game brought us together. So after Makerere College, this guy asked me, what's your plan? What's your future, Innocent? Told him university, and for him he was going to England. And he said, after university, what's up? He said, before university I have nothing to do now. Will your parents get money for university? I'm like, I think they will hustle and get it. Then he said, but what are you going to be doing now? Because by then all we were doing after senior 6, party after party. They used to have a very big house there in Bogolovi, near Tibwa, and we used to party a lot. So it was all merrymaking for for me in the vacation. So this gentleman Marvin told me my dad is actually Wavamono, if you didn't know. I told him I'm also actually at cricket. So Mr. James Manjas, Kaketo knows this story very well, I think, because the way journalism was when we were beginning, only like 2% of journalists understood what cricket is. Today, cricket, we have a tournament here, and there are 130 journalists, and I look back and I smile from the time I covered cricket with a guy called, it's called Ronnie Chintu. Ronnie Chintu is a guy who was in New Vision by then, and he was an umpire. So for me, I was a player, but by then, Davis Turinawe was the organizing secretary of the association. Davis Turinawe needed to do match reports at the end of every game. And Mr. Davis Turinawe used to tell me to accompany this match report to send out to the captains and to the media houses so that they can have something they publish. Please write for me that media report, I'll edit it. So I started writing that media report. So when James Manager came, he found out that I was doing that already. So James Manager said, Innocent, you're my guy here. I'll buy for you soda, a 4K, 3K, 2K, at best a 5K. He leaves it with you. So you watch the full game, type it on email. Those days it was Hotmail and email. I used to have a Yahoo email. I used my Yahoo email actually local Padia. Local, to differentiate myself from the other Padia you talked about earlier. It was local Padia 2001. I remember that's when I opened up my email. 2001, because 2001 was also a monumental year for Uganda cricket. That's when they went for the first ever ice tournament after they became full associate members. That was in Canada, the Mini World Cup in Toronto. So that's when I opened up them, because we used to watch those games from an internet cafe at night and used to get excuses to stay in longer. So Mr. Mayanja used to pick my stories and run them on air. You can guess how smiling I would be. Hearing him not change a single word in my script. And then when this boy of Wavamono got to know that I'm doing that, and his father asked him, instead of me giving you free money every day, Marvin, to go and party with your friends, how come you guys brought 2 stories every week to office? 2 stories from the games you play in Lugogo, wherever you tell me your aura is at. So when the guy reached his time to go to study in UK, he told his father, I want to introduce you to someone who I want you to include on the sports desk of WBS. By then that desk had Mr. James Mayanja, Mr. Philip Corey, and Mr. Katende Malibu. Those were the seniors. Philip Corey was in charge of the English bulletin. James Mayanja was overall, and Malibu was in charge of what you'd call Akaunge's news, the Luganda news, at 7 p.m. So Mr. Marvin Iseman introduced me to the dad, Gordon, and he said, Innocent is here, he's been doing cricket, rugby stories for us, and golf. I don't start doing golf. He's here, let him join. I was given a correspondence tag in my vacation. Fast forward, I started writing more regularly. Mr. Manager would tell me, what's your plan? Where are you going to be? Tomorrow I want you to go to Nachivubo. There's a press conference for big strikers. I want you to go to Nachivubo, do that for me. I want you to, when you leave Nachivubo, go to Lugogo. There's Netball Federation. ANEC is going to be discussing something. So I was this boy as he moved around the ranks, because Mayanja was so multi-talented. He would move from one spot to another and get clips. You know, in our days, we used to call them cutaways. I think when you guys see me sharing stuff on the cricket press group, I call them cutaways. Still call them cutaways, but today I understand they're called B-rolls. The footage used to support a story. So Mr. James Banja is my father in journalism. He taught me golf. By the time of his death, I could write better golf than him and understand the game even much better. So James Manager took me to people like Lawrence Mulindwa, who bought for me my first air ticket to go to England after my first degree of social sciences at Makerere University. He told me all other sports. He welcomed me in the newsroom. He don't throw me away. I was lazy, I think, and a little more stylish. I was from the teens club background. Yeah, he wanted me to do serious sports. I had a funny hair, so I don't know if Kaketo remembers. You can call it wet look, because as TV presenters, we were all asked to do hair. So I remember at that time there was Oyimuke, Maurice Mugisha, me, Kazura. Yeah, we used to have a funny hairstyle, not similar to what you see today. A hairstyle similar to artists back in the day, if you follow the boy bands. But beautiful storyline there, how I came into journalism. Even when I went to the UK, and not come back immediately with the cricket team. I didn't have a job again at WBS. I lost my job because I had overstayed in England. But James Mayanja is one of the guys who wrote me a recommendation to Daily Monitor. And he said, I think you're getting a gem of a journalist in Innocent Ndawula. Mr. Fred Musi embraced me and Mark Sally, took me under their wings. So my other father of journalism, I am a son of many fathers. But from James Mayanja, the guys that deserve more flowers are Mark Sally, Frederick Musichinji, people like Oriada Jackson. They've all touched me. They've all had a part to play. So, properly, in a nutshell, any flowers you have for me, please throw them to James Mayanja. He's a person whose home I should be able to visit every week. And unfortunately, I cannot visit to say hi to the Namwandu and to share a few laughs here and there of the memories of the late. But he really brought me to the sporting world and made me become a powerhouse of a journalist that I am today, because there is no federation where I go to and I'm turned on the wrong side. I'm always given an ear, and I'm happy that James Mayanja built that legacy for me.
James Mayanja, one of the gentlemen, I think, very quiet gentleman. In the field, you find him very humble, and you would never know what he consists of, but what a gentleman. What a gentleman, I would say. But still, while we are still talking about the journalism journey, how was it at WBS for you? You've talked about the scripting, the what. How was it with the relationships inside WBS? I think it's the longest of media houses apart from UBC that one would point out and say that if is a channel I would like to work on during those days, it would be WBS. How was it with you and the relationships inside that?
WBS was a heaven. Our WBS days were golden. Our WBS days we had a blast. And to say the least. We were superstars. We were the only channel that had that the allure of celebrity. You were a superstar once you worked on WBS. Everyone in the field would like, everyone would have loved to associate with you if you worked at WBS. And we were young. In my era, if you look back, I had guys like Atende Malibu, who was working with Isaac Mukasa, and they had a radio show on Voice of Africa.
Yeah, Voice of Africa.
And these guys used to take me along with them at night, because everyone who saw me on TV was saying, "Oyogwe mukola na ye ku TV, mumulete tumulabeko." And I used to go to explain to people cricket, rugby, golf, and we used to live weird hours, midnight. But when you are young, you have enough gas to burn. Yeah, and we used to work weird hours. We used to take the things that actually literally pulled me to journalism as well. Not very far away from cricket. Having a little good life. I told you I was as small as the current chairman of cricket, but many people believe maybe that good life also led to me increasing in size, because you're getting late night drinks, you're eating late night foods. You're eating better than you were before. You're earning a little more. You are in environments of people with power. So that power brushes off you and you feel a little more important. So WBS was that heaven where you worked with people like Peter Ntimba. Yeah, there's a gentleman called Stephen Chiwanuka, one of the biggest for me camera persons this country has had. I think he's now with BBC. Another person called like Patrick Sembajo. These guys, producers, guys who brought digital world, like for me to see moving cameras, stuff like drones. People like Dan Nankunda, who is now also a big boy at NTV Uganda. I worked with Farida Nakas, where at the same level we entered around the same time at WBS. And I remember her story and how she was told she could not anchor news because of her hoarse voice, and how she became a superpower later on in her life. How WBS, we used to have free gym care, a free salon. We used to have a haircut every 2 days. And then they styled your hair as the way you wanted it on the Winton Road. We used to have a party almost every day. We had free membership to Club Silk, where Elvis Sechans, which was under Ovamuno. Yeah, people were getting soft loans to buy cars and pay over time. You had people like Margaret Kisitu, Rosemary Bukirwa, who is now with UBC. People like he's recently been given his package at NTV, and he's left one of the best Ugandan news guys. I'm forgetting the name. It's called Kato. Yeah, Williams Kato. Guys like Nambalirwa. Then to entertainment world, you had the Swakamwezis. Swakamwezi was my born buddy. Yeah, Enesha wanted to attack. Swakamwezi was there for me. Charles Oimuka, like I've told you, all the biggest producers and presenters, people like Drake Sekeba had a touch in my career. Then there's another guy who died. It's called Danny Chaze. He told me how to write Luganda news because I used to always give him my script in English, and yet you're saying me Yanda Uloli Mulangira. How come you cannot write Luganda? So you say change the script like this, like this. Malibu too used to help me out because Malibu was more talented. Malibu is one guy actually I have seen in the whole newsroom across the world I've been to, from where I did my training in KTL in Nairobi, later on in the years. Malibu, you can give him a script in English and read it in Luganda without missing his words. At crunch hours, you've let a game late in Nachivubo, you've been at a burial, you've been at a sightseeing. A long time I was a body sightseeing of Paul Hassler at Nachivubo V8. He had died and I was in charge of the story, of the script, and Malibu was in studio waiting for the script. So Malibu said, give me the script in English. So Malibu had a script in English written for him by me, typed out, and he read it on air in Luganda, and the sound bites fell into place. I've never seen a guy who is talented like that. So to look back at things, when you compare WBS and other many TVs today, without being abusive, without being demeaning, and without being a little too tough, you'll be comparing purples and apples. WBS was way, way, way above in terms of class.
WBS was way above, and those are the words of Innocent Ndawula. But going forward in the journalism world, you joined Nation Media. You're one of the top people at Nation Media. Yes, I would say I do not normally see you most of the time, most especially in the papers, but I get to know that if it is cricket, of course it is Innocent Ndawula. So how has it been so far? How many years now?
I've been in Monitor since I came back from the UK. That is 2006. I've been in Monitor since 2006. How many years? Do the quick maths. Let me see if you pass this one as well.
6, 5 plus 10 plus 4, 5, 10, 4, 19 years almost.
Getting to 20 years in 2026.
Yeah. Those are some good years, and I think as we get closer to the end, sometime there you'll have a word for the young journalists, because if we talk of experience, I know you've seen it all in the journalism world. I don't know a lot that is in the Ugandan journalism setting, but of course, as you grow older, you get that feel that you've gotten to see almost everything in Uganda, because it's not too much. But still talking journalism, Nation Media, you've gotten into Nation Media. How was it at the start?
When I joined Nation Media, I was already a known boy across journalism, because I'd been on TV, on WBS TV. And I had been earlier on Teens Club. And I had been with some voice. Have worked with the likes of Flavia, Mrs. Kabura now, who is Kabura, a very good friend of mine. He keeps wondering why I've not yet joined Next Media, because now the new boss of Next Media, people like Katamba, MC Katz, who's a very good close friend of mine as well, MC Katz, and we had an Indian girl as well there. So when I came back from the UK, I told my brother, I'm not going to work. WBS said a lot of bad things about me. I stole a camera, blah, blah, blah. But it was red paper stories. And they were all written by a good friend of mine as well, who is now working with me in Monitor Gaza, Charles Kodili. A very good friend of mine who supports a lot of cricket, by the way. And who I've also seen grow through the ranks from being a gossip writer to an editor, now to an agriculturalist, because he's in charge of one of the best products that drives Monitor, the paper Seeds of Gold. So when I joined Monitor, I was like known. I was not like swimming in new waters. I was known on the sports desk. The features desks knew me as well, because we had the same parties almost week in, week out. And in between there was a lot of promotion of young journalists then we are the new breed of young journalists who knew too much, who I could fit into a lifestyle department, a news department, because I'd tried some parliament reporting while I was at WBS under the stewardship of Rose Bukiro and Peter Ntimba. So I was that type of guy who was welcomed. And if you look at my nature, you will not find many days when Innocent Ndawula is angry. Even if I have 1,001 problems, 99 of them will not be mine. I'll make sure they belong to someone else. I would like to live a lifestyle where if I am in an environment where there's a lot of negative energy, I would rather live and go find where there is joy and sit with those strangers that are giving me joy than be with the people, the Jeremiahs of this world, that are going to make me frown and have a frown figure on my face that has a skull that can boil a cup of tea. So I don't want a lot of energy. So when I came into Monitor, I was welcomed, I was loved, and I was multi-talented. I remember after 2 months, I started editing people's stories. The editors on the desk, Mark Sally, was saying me, edit so-and-so story. Let me not mention names here. Saying, edit so-and-so story. Because TV writing makes it easier to write a newspaper story. Because TV writing was a shorter script, and many times the newspaper, you have 7 people, 10 people. For example, New Vision at one time had a desk of 30 people. You all need a byline on 4 pages. Yeah? So I was doing some editing work. I think I was one of the fastest guys who has gotten a correspondence contract on a desk in Monitor, which later became a full-time job. I got my full-time job in Monitor not after so long. 2006, 2009, I was full-time staff already as a reporter. And 2012, I was made an editor for the Score magazine, which we publish every Saturday. Nowadays, we just call it Saturday Sports. A title I still hold as well as being a sports sub-editor. So I came to a Monitor world where I was already a big fish, to say. I was a big fish, not the most sought after, but a big fish. Because even when I came to WBS, I signed for papers to go to France in 2007. I came in 2006. And everyone said, the managing director will not give you this money. It was called a guy called Mr. Joachim Buembo, who is in charge of the Acme Awards now. But Joachim Buembo signed my papers at one glance. He said, you go to France, we need that rugby-based coverage in. I didn't have accreditation, I remember, but I went to France and I ran into the embassy of Uganda, and there's a gentleman and a lady from the embassy who helped me get accreditation to the games and cover the Rugby World Cup in 2007. So I still feel I'm very youthful. Many people look at me like a veteran, but I still look at myself as very useful because I feel like I still have the energy of a young guy. When I go on a trip out there, I would like to do everything to perfection. I would like to do a little more than what even the Gen Zs or the millennials are doing. I would like to add a little more sauce and serve it with a little chili and make sure people, when they bite, it's tasty. So I don't know if my work speaks for themselves, but every time I've gotten a chance to serve the media, I serve it with all my heart, and I make sure I don't only give 100%, but I make sure I give 115%.
I'm one of the people who can attest to that, that you do really give 100%, and I do not know what the word perfection means, but I think you're there. You're there. You do really want the perfection, and at the end of the day, I see you sometimes asking, have I gone wrong somewhere? If I've gone wrong, I'm sorry, but I'm like, is this man really serious? Okay, but we are still at Nation Media. Nation Media has got a lot of personalities when you talk about sport, most especially. Some friend of mine I met some time back, Ishmael Dakabachi Gongo. He's a gentleman that has always asked me, remind me, what's your name? But yeah, I'm Jeremiah, of course.
Now he will know you much better because we've interviewed a person who works directly under him and a person who is not just his assistant, but a person who is his brother. Me and Isma have shared the same house for some good years. We've stayed together. Isma understands, his knowledge of sport is mind-boggling. Like the number of sports he watches, then times at night is awake for a person who's a Muslim, who doesn't take alcohol, for the things he does and how he mixes it up with the lifestyle shows he watches, with the news, how he keeps abreast with the current news in the world, and how he manages to add all that humor together and be the Ishmael Dakabachi Gongo he is. today. So I look at Ishmael, he's not just like my boss or my colleague, he's like a guy. That's why you see even many people of you hardly recognize my presence, and yet I can tell you I do as much work as Isma. Even when I travel, we are still talking with Isma, we are still planning for the desk, we're still pushing the boundaries to make sure Monitor stays right up there in terms of sports coverage, because everyone has told it to our faces at Nation Media Group from our bosses that you guys have the powers on sport in every sport. You look at athletics, you look at Darren Allen Cheune. You look at golf, you look at a guy called Darren Allen Cheune, Innocent Ndawula. You look at cricket, now from having Innocent Ndawula as a master of cricket, I can stare when people like Maktoum Muziransa, Elvis Senono, Darren Allen Cheune, Justine, Agarukiremu will cover cricket and leave no stone unturned. You look at rugby, we have a Manzi, Nyamhachi, we had another boy there, Deus Bugembe. So we've been lucky to have powers, hockey, Maktoum. You call me what sport? Football, Elvis Senono, Andrew Mwangusha, Dennis Bosa. Then some of us.
We have a good friend here.
Abdul Nasser Semugabi, Taufik. Called is a man of one-way traffic. Many look at him as irrational, but I like his his opinion. Straight as an arrow. When he shoots, he doesn't miss. So, and he goes bare knuckles, even with the top of elders all in the federations. If he sees all the things, they are swerving off the road. And those are the characters that our Monitor has built. Sometimes in journalism, we've been told money will never be enough. But the legacy you leave behind, the character you build, could get you more money outside the newsroom, because people are able to call on you to do for them some work. And that's how I fall into a scenario where I have been volunteering for ICC Africa office, where you get a paycheck that is bigger than, you get a stipend which is bigger than your salary, say, of 2 months. By Uganda Creator Association, where I'm called on to do media liaison work, and I'm happy to serve. The game has given me a life, because all that happens because you have a job. They only come to you because you have an address where you are seated and where you show real value. Otherwise, if you lose that address at the site Jeremiah, no one will think you're worth. But you're getting a lot of airtime, talking to people like Innocent Ndawula, talking to people like Dennis Musali, or say Ishmael Dakaba Chigongo, who keeps asking you what your name is. But we were told times when we did some contractual work for SuperSport as talent, that every second is worth $3,000 on TV time play. So I like to think it's the same in the setting where we are. And so if you waste a second, you've wasted a whole lifetime of someone. Yeah. Yes.
Before even we get into the ICC bit and cricket, before this show we were talking about the sports bar. Sports bar. What was it like working on the sports bar with those names? Of course, yes, you knew them. You were friends before, but how was it? Because I get that feel that the chemistry was a little more attached than any other show that I've watched of this generation.
The sports bar came up as an idea of NTV to match many other TVs that had opened up as sports shows. And I was lucky my name was flaunted around as one of the candidates for the sports bar. First and foremost because I was an in-house worker with the National Media Group. It's called Abul now. The whole company is under National Media Group, Africa Broadcasting Uganda Limited, Abul, where you see the likes of Monitor, Spark, now Dembe is back, KFM, Nation Korea. So now we are called National Media Group Uganda. Then it was Abul. It came up like that, and they were looking for people who have done it before, who can do it. And the head of sports by then, Leon Senyange, another very good friend of mine, Innocent, said, Innocent, let's try this. If people think we will fail, let's show them what we can do. So we stayed together with Leon Senyange. And sports bar, the idea was to have a setting that is very relaxed, like how you guys are doing it at the site. Get a few drinks in. Get sponsors of drinking companies. Because there are many out there that are willing to support programs that develop talent. Like as journalists, every day you look at a journalist, that's talent. Yeah, support talent and support development of people's careers. So the sports bar came up through Mr. Leon Senyange. I sat out with him. It was very nice. He was very strict. Kabura joined the show along half of the way, and Kabura, Kabura remains for me, I think not one, he's the best presenter Uganda has ever had in terms of presentation and managing a show. Yeah, the abilities of Kabura and the way he argues, the intonation he uses when he's raising his points, and the humor he throws in, whether dark or good, he throws in that leaves you away, that leaves you the person being interviewed or questioned, even you with a smile on your face, even if it means to make you angry. So Kabura came in, added power to the show. We hosted some of the big names in the industry by then. Moses Golola, what a brand. He came to the show. In 5 minutes of the show, he never listened to any question we were asking. He took 10 sodas in 5 minutes. And his first answer says, we have to thank God. After we've asked him and as many questions, he says, we have to thank God. He's given me the energy to train. Training I am not joking subject. People have not seen a character like this all their lives. A joking subject who is always joking. A person who hangs his clothes on lines of telephone companies. Yeah. A person who will beat you and then you'll forget to wake up to go for a shower, something like that. Yeah? He was a comical player in our fielders of sports. He raised the bar high for sports. And who said people like Bobby Williamson, who was head coach, and the show was fiery. We put Bob Williamson under the coach, made sure we ask him all the tough questions, put him under the pump and made sure he ends up under the bus. He almost stormed off the show, but he became best of our friends because I told him when, for example, I asked him on the show, Bobby who? Tell us, Bobby who, what's your claim to fame? What are you doing in Uganda as a coach who has been online in Kilmarnock? Yeah, I put him under the pump like that. We had some of the best shows there we had. And after the shows, the discussions that we had outside the studio with the people we had been interviewing were even bigger. They gave us bigger knowledge, wider knowledge of things. Where we had made mistakes, we learned more. Where we had put them on the show, they brought more evidence. We even took those conversations to bars. Our Sunday nights became like a party of sorts because on Mondays we are off for the work we do for the TV on Sunday. And we got sponsors for the show. But I noticed that every time in an African setting, when more money is thrown into the cookie jar, someone touches it and spoils everything. So when the show got more money, everyone in the setup, because I'm still a member of the company, I won't say names or what, but everyone in the setup tried to become a little too clever, trying to make sure we don't earn as much as we are earning from the show because we are being told we are earning on our daily jobs as well, and not only from the show. So the show went up in flames. The show burnt out into ashes. Not the ashes you think about of England and Australia, but in cricket, but that's how things happened. Leon Senyange was one of the guys who fought so hard to make sure the show stays because each one of us had gotten a personal sponsor. I don't mention names of the sponsors. Our lifestyles were going to be changed forever if we were still doing that show. But it fell off, and the revival of the show came when people like Leon Senyange were now at crossroads with the company. He didn't still want to work with it because he felt, in other words, he felt he had been underappreciated for what he started out from almost nothing to become the biggest show in Uganda. We were running our mentors show spot on WBS. It had been taken somewhere else, Touchline Sports, I think, then took it to NBS as well. We were giving them a run for their monies. We were sending them bankrupt because of the quality, the numbers we had, the phone call rates we had, the ratings also we had from these companies that give value and show that this program is much more than the other, like Sinovate. So we took the show to places that had never been before. The show also elevated our status, but the show fell off. And we had to do a rebuilding process. Leon moved on, a bitter man. Innocent Ndawula retrieved back to monitor, more humble, more quiet, and not willing. I've been hesitant to work for TV again because of how Sports Bar fell apart. Not that I don't have the knowledge, but because I know if I thought my hand is up today, I want to come and work with you guys on Monday on the press box. It's not called the press box, I beg your pardon. It's called Sport Nights. Press box went away from us, went to my friend Kabura, who also has a very good relationship with me and is truly my brother. So I said, my hand is up, I want to work on Sports Nights. Ismail said, walk in, please, front door. But because of many things that stayed on my other side, where I felt there's a little negative energy still within me. I feel I don't want to do TV again. I feel I prefer to stay in the paper, write the stories, do the feature stories. If you notice lately, I've been having almost a feature or two run in the paper. Yesterday, in yesterday's Daily Monitor, I wrote one of the biggest features, East Africa's Golf Must Step Up, about the Uganda professionals, over 2,500 words, talking about how we are still playing second fiddle, even when we host a big tournament like the Magical Kenya Open. Because I was lucky enough, I was selected from Hong Kong. I was selected because my name is in the database of the European Tour. So when they flip back, they see that name, they say, this guy has covered us for 10 years. If he's still around, why shouldn't he continue doing the job? Because I have built that legacy. I have built that camaraderie with them. They say if Innocent is around, the days will be of hard work and the nights will be of good life. You work smart and party hard. Yes.
You've played cricket, but most of your work in cricket has been more on the journalistic side. Uh, where should I start? Journalism in cricket. How do you get into covering cricket mainly?
Very easy for you and very easy for me, this one. Cricket, as I told you, from my vacation, I was in Gogo with Wavamono's son. James Manja phoned me here, and he saw me try a hand at hockey, badminton. So he said, you are the scorer. I was the scorer of cricket. So I started writing those small notes for him, the pointers from cricket that he could mention out, and how to report cricket in Uganda. We had a gentleman who said around, Mr. William Kamanyi, and we found a way of treating people on the wickets, on pitchy, the runs, yabawangudde ku biti w'ebiti bawangudde ku pitchy w'eziti, enkuyo, what you people call it. So cricket became gamba ekyo tekikyuka mu luzungu ebeera wicket. So we found terminologies to associate with, and then I was very young and very agile. From playing, I knew I could do that, and when I started doing it, I got some little money. There's no bigger motivation in the world than money. Yeah, if you're getting some little money somewhere, it will drive you to do things better. So I started becoming a regular and covering cricket, and I was alone, and everyone started calling me cricket. Even today they say cricket, and I tell people I'm not a cricket journalist. I am a sports journalist. Give me more flowers. You're giving me less. I demand more, and that's how it was. From then on, I entered WBS. Like I told you, WBS took me for training at KTN in Nairobi. The world became bigger for me. I had to do a degree in mass communication after done one in social sciences at the University of Makerere. I did 2 degrees concurrently. Then we had a nation hub in Nairobi as well. When I joined Monta, I went there to the Nation Media Hub in Nairobi more time. So, and then we started another event of teaching people cricket. Before the cricket game at coverage, you'd see New Vision Monitor. Then WBS started. Then WBS taught other people like UBC to start covering the game. Then things grew like that. From being 2 journalists who understand the game, we grew more. Then we got people like Dumba. There was it's called Dumba he was Radio 1 for a long time. Sulaiman. He had gone to Chibuli, he knew cricket. Then Ahmed Hussein, the FUFA media officer, head of media and communications at FUFA, who I am very related with, although Sidi Muzungu Ngaye, I'm related too. He was covering cricket for Sanyu FM very religiously and covering things like these polls. He has voice, he has sound bites from as way back before even when I was still playing Cricket Week, of even myself covering cricket. And Hussein knew the game because he was in Chibuli. Said with people like Jeremy Chibuka Msoke, who Musali beat for secretary yesterday over the weekend at the UC elections. So the game started growing, more journalists started coming on board. Still today, Hussein supports and follows cricket. That's why I think even cricket, I think Hussein was supposed to be the returning officer for the cricket elections, Hussein Ahmed. But they sent Dekola Skiza because Hussein had a family function where I was also supposed to attend. And for me, I forwent it for this function. So people like Hussein came with the knowledge of the game from high school. So that's how cricket built its house. Then there was Waibale Senior, whose son you saw yesterday, Adonia Waibale, who is also a delegate in cricket. But his father knew the game, and they used to come here every Wednesday when we started out cricket, how cricket won over journalists. Every Wednesday there used to be a FUFA weekly assembly when Nel Special was still the sponsor of the league. It used to be inside here, Copper Chimney, which was called Gogo Clubhouse by then. And immediately after that, Mr. Justin Nyalinji, who was the CEO of Uganda Cricket, by then I think was the secretary, he used to come through and immediately organize the cricket UCA weekly update as well and give people a one-pager on what is happening in cricket. Some of the things I hope this new regime can revise, so that people keep abreast with cricket. But cricket's journey has been slow and steady, like the way you see the national team perform. From being a non-member of ICC to being a member that is now playing in the World Cup, 5 games away from playing another World Cup, 2 wins away from being an ODI country, is the journey of cricket. Like from the way you see Lugogo, when I say a story like Jana is saying, we've not been given proper water or we've been given a poor meal, it's good noise for me in the ears of the cricket administrators to tell them your game is no longer a small sport. It's a sport that is actually favored by the journalists because the amount of airtime, when cricket Jeff on TVs and radios, to say the least, it leaves you jaw dropping and amazed and say, how did an alien sport in brackets become so popular in a country like Uganda?
So, I've seen you travel with the Uganda men's team, which is the Cricket Cranes, most of the time. The first question I would ask at this point of time, who are you in UCA or the Uganda Cricket Association?
I keep saying it, and it's the joke of town. I think many radios and TVs say it. I call myself the biggest elite volunteer of Ugandan sport. When I said traveling with cricket, way back in 2005 when I told you Lawrence Mlindo bought for me my air ticket to England, I promised myself when I retire, I think all journalists have done this and I will not be ashamed to say it. Yeah, when I first traveled, the sportsman likes journalists, especially if you say the truth and especially if you portray them in the right manner they are and if you can keep a few secrets away from the prying eyes. When I traveled with them, I was already a cricketer who didn't make a team. So I went as a supporting cast to the team. I was helping around in the field, in the setting. Then because of my skills and because I've gone to school, I could chip in a story that I could send to the media back home and runs on air. So they said getting mileage. Cricketers said seeing their names in the newspapers. They say seeing themselves on TV stations. They said being asked for interviews on TV shows. So the game grew and the game soon was going to outgrow them. But over time, because I had other jobs elsewhere, for me, cricket is a very bad virus. When it catches you, it spreads like a rash. Spreads badly all over your skin. So I started going to cricket tournaments where I was less invited. But because I was now earning a salary and I was single, no girlfriend, no babies, no kids, no responsibilities at home, mother, father working, have their money, siblings okay in school, I started going to follow the Cricket Cranes, saving my savings and following the team. And I would share rooms with the players. And the team managers would look after me. All you needed to do by then, they give you an extra tracksuit for the players and one maybe kit for warm-up so that you look part of the team. At the international level, no one is going to throw you out of the team. Yeah, you find your way, sneak around smartly. Not the right thing to do, but passion overrides, like I say, emotion. So I was full of passion. Like I told you in the beginning, I'm very passionate. So when I got my first ever fully paid for cricket trip by Uganda Cricket Association, there was a joke going on. It was in the 16th year. It was the World Cup last year. That's when I got my first ever fully paid for trip by Uganda Cricket Association. But before, I had been using my money. The Cricket Association gives you maybe $200, $300 to top up, monitor, where you work for NTV, adds another 200, so you have 500 to play around with. Then you have to put on a brave face, enjoy it all, suck it in, and then do a good job to make sure you're considered for the next trip. So you serve, that's why I'm calling myself a volunteer. And then from that volunteering, I have been able to be handpicked, all selected by ICC Africa office, by ICC head office to do certain other roles where you get a stipend, which I told you is bigger than your salary of 3 months. So that cushions you and you say, well, the effort is being rewarded now. And the years of rewarding have not been then, they are now. That's what I feel like. From being a nobody now, back in the day, because one of the close friends of mine, Charles Weiss, so I captained him, I played with him, I had a hand in him going to Macquarie College. He told me, I think you're going to write a book one day and call it 15 years of 5-star floors because you've slept in all the expensive hotels in the world without paying for the accommodation.
Oh, now I get to know why Innocent has been telling me overtime, but I'm a volunteer. If his first paid trip was the World Cup, then you could get to know how a bigger picture is. But Innocent, you've traveled to lots of countries, and I would name a few that you've not gone to. The cricketing countries, I mean. But which one has interested you more than the other?
I am spoiled for choice to tell you which country is the best that I want to, but Australia was amazing. Of course, England is super nice, but again, Oman, surprisingly, is a very good country with a very good culture and a very huge respect for Africans. And they speak Swahili in Oman, if you didn't know. They speak Swahili because they come straight from the coast and they cross over. So, but also take nothing away from Abu Dhabi and Dubai. Every year you go to Abu Dhabi, you are as if going to a new world because it's fast developing and the social amenities that are there, the access to indoor sports, from tennis to Ferrari World, to the big ovals that are built across, to the Dubai Academy where many of our young coaches have gone to for more and better paperwork. It's amazing. The whole world has been amazing. I tell you, India is a lovely place as well to go to. You see both worlds in India, a bit of Uganda, the ghetto, and a bit of the high class. Yes. So it's hard for me to pick out that this country is the best. And I can tell you, apparently, I had never gone to Dar es Salaam until 2 years ago. But when I went to Dar es Salaam, I feel that I would love to go back over and over again because Dar es Salaam has a real proper vibe.
Which country would you like to be to? Any cricketing country that you've not been to but would like to get there and see. How is it like? How do they play more of their cricket?
I think if you haven't gone to Pakistan, you should strive and fight to go to Pakistan. In Pakistan, cricket is a real religion. Riyazat Ali Shah, our captain, who comes from the border of Pakistan and China, in a small village called Gilgit, says as much. People like Bilal Hassan, when you talk to them, they say as much. And these people, the sheikhs, are the most humble, most honorable, and most understanding cricketers you'll ever see. When they notice you share something in common, they'll even give you more for free. People in Hong Kong, China, where we were, the Pakistani family came to the team hotel and wanted to give almost everyone a prize that is as much as a car in Ugandan shillings. Prizes which you could not carry, of course, back home, so you can only look at them and wish. But that's how good they are. Once they associate with you and say, you're cricketers, and you guys play the game to this level, are you sure? We are coming to Uganda. We would like to see where you guys come from, what country Uganda is made of, what type of people are coming from there, because we told you, very hospitable, very caring, and very loving. So Pakistan is a country I would like to go to experience the people there. Unfortunately, the Champions League is happening, and it's the first time cricket is happening there for the first time, and I've not been able to go there because I just came back from the World Cup. I have no leave days, but it's a country, if I have any shilling on my account, I'd love to go to Kashmir and also experience and negate the propaganda that we saw on TV. They say the war zones, the bullets flying over the place, if this is really true or just propaganda, because now the cricketing world is in Pakistan and everything is happening normally.
When you talk about Pakistan, lots of people talk about the war and everything that is being portrayed in the news. But in the World Cup, what was your biggest moment? Because we've not seen many people or many journalists go to cover a cricket World Cup. I don't know, you're the first of many that I know. But how was the experience like?
The World Cup, everything is another story, I beg to say. To help you and the producer to assess properly the World Cup should be its own topic, because in the World Cup, everything was mind-blowing. You pack your bag once, your handbag, and your 3 suitcases. You don't see them again until you reach the West Indies. But we travel to the West Indies for 3 days. You find them in your hotel room at the hotel, in the West Indies, and you don't see them again. And they tell you properly, you're going to sleep over in Dubai for a night. You will be hosted in London for a night. You'll stay over in Rihanna's country, Barbados, for a night. And then you'll go to Trinidad, your base, for the opening ceremony. That's where you'll find everything. So they tell you, pack a toothbrush. Okay, we're in business class. And by the way, boys were in business class for the first time. And you were given things like night pajamas, an extra set of toothpaste, socks to wear to get some more warm. So you say, pack just one night pajama for you to sleep in at the hotel. And everything will be fine. So, but the World Cup, everything was big, but nothing will ever replace for me the sight of seeing 43-year-old Frank Nsubuga on the pitch, bowling 4 overs for 2 runs, 2 maidens, and Uganda beating Papua New Guinea. But just know everything across the World Cup is a whole new world, a whole new experience, something you'll never get enough money for in this world to pay for to experience.
One of the conversations that I would like to hold with you, but because of time, I think we shall try to shape it to the close. My producer here, I think, would like to have that conversation again and again, the World Cup conversation. But anyway, producer, we shall schedule some time to have that conversation. But today, as we come to a close, let us. There are new journalists out there. They would like to learn a thing or two. But from your experience, what advice would you give one journalist in this generation? This is the Gen Zs. In this Gen Z's generation, something that can motivate them, something that can help them learn about the world of journalism we live in.
Kakoza will tell you, it's like a snake. It's been shedding skin with each passing year. And in journalism, you have to continue to shed skin. Ono kwebulula, wagama kwebulula. Obere ompya buli kiseera. So, journalism first and foremost, you must have the belief that whatever happens, I'm going to make it through. If you don't believe in yourself, no one else will. And we are living in a data world now. Get yourself in the know of things and how to use things, the gizmos, the data, the smart things, the social media. Put your brand out there on the market. If you sell up yourself short, you'll go for mere peanuts. If you put a price tag on yourself, you'll go for $1 million. And the $1 million question to all the journalists is, are they willing to work a little extra hard to come to the field, to learn this? Say every year or every 6 months, I'm going to learn a new sport. I'm going to learn how cricket is scored. I'm going to learn new players. Am I going to go and read more BBC stories? Because BBC stories are the original traditional stories of reporting, rather than trying to be analytical when your analysis is even worse than a match report. Yes. So come out, ask the questions. So many journalists we have, but they are a little bit lazy because of the data world. They would love to get every match report from Innocent Ndawula on tour. They would love to wait for everything to come through on a silver platter. And that's not the way to go. The best way to go is believe in yourself and push until the envelope rips.
Yeah, that has been Innocent Ndawula. One of the names that you'd love to hear any day, or one of the people you'd like to get next to, because when you rub shoulders with him, you get to feel that you're one of the big boys.